Good morning, people. I never want to dance again. These guilty feet have gotten a rhythm. It's true. It's true. You know I'm not a fool. Anyway, it's 6:16 a.m. We are on our way to the shop up in fill-in-the-blank, Texas. We got some work to do. And I'm driving along thinking, what am I going to say to the nice people on the internet today? And there's two things that come to mind. So get your coffee, engage your brain, turn your eyes off, your ears on, podcast style. Numero uno. Yeah, we call that Spanglish. Numero uno. Wind power. Some of y'all are probably completely clueless to the fact that I know a heck of a lot about wind power. We have a lot of new people. We've picked up close to 1,000 new subscribers in the last couple of days. Thank you, Pastor Joe. Frankly, I'm blown away. And frankly, I say frankly too much. But frankly, I'm probably going to not stop saying frankly. So, frankly, that's how I feel about it. Yeah, I'm blown away. I'm humbled and thankful, and I'm glad y'all are enjoying the content. And Squid, he's happy too. He's Squid, so he's Squid. He was in the Navy. You know how Navy guys are. Anyway, so the Revolting Man and Pastor Joe have both found our channel. Pastor Joe has shouted out our channel. I see you lurking out there, Zach. Anyway, wind power. A lot of people have short-term fuel storage for SHTF, right? Propane, gasoline. I do. Because fossil fuel, man, when you need energy and you need it right now, fossil fuels rock, right? There's a lot of potential energy in gasoline and propane. You can make things hot right now. You can make things go right now, right? It's much easier to get your 5-gallon can of gasoline than it is to mix up 5 gallons of mash and let it sit for 5 days at approximately 105 degrees temperature and then cook it all down and maybe get a gallon of ethanol truck fuel, right? Or you could just get your can and pour a gallon of gas out. So, same thing with propane. Yeah, I can build a wood fire. I have wood stoves. It's much easier to hook up the propane bottle, turn the valve, click the igniter, bam, fire. So, those are great intermediate, short-term and intermediate options. What happens long-term? Now what do? Well, I am more than willing to admit that this is whoa, we almost dropped the phone. Hey, y'all. All right, more than willing to admit that this is going to be a budget issue for a lot of people. A lot of people can't afford wind energy, and I get that. I mean, I sold and installed wind energy, and I've done big utility scale projects. If you've been out to West Texas and seen all those turbines, you're welcome. Been to South Texas and seen all those turbines, you're welcome. West Virginia, yep. Nebraska, yep. Oklahoma, all over Oklahoma, yep, you're welcome. Up and down the East Coast, thousands of these things. And then I've also done, that's utility scale. And then for residential, commercial, light industrial, and agricultural, smaller wind turbines, which would power everything from a barn, a house or a barn, to a community. And one of the things that I've gotten really good at is distributed wind energy. I was told by the industry, you can't do that. There's no way to do that. Well, that's because y'all are a bunch of engineers with no real world experience, and I have to figure out how to make the things you design work in the field. So I figured out a way to do that. So if there's anybody that wants to know how to do that, legitimately know how to do that, you have the time, you have the money to invest, ntxmag@gmail. Hit me up with an email and we can talk. But the way that works is you could have one larger turbine interconnected to the grid that you at least for right now, you can get what's called a PPA, power purchase agreement, that sells electricity back into the grid to your local utility and distributes the electricity that that turbine makes amongst several different properties that are all, within striking distance of the turbine. So you have to create your own distribution network to move that power from where the turbine generates it to, say, 4 homes and 2 barns and a shed that are all on, all within 1,000 feet of the turbine or something like that. So that is doable. You just have to know how to do it. I figured it out. It's not rocket science. I just figured it out. So I have a lot of real-world experience with wind turbines, and I wanted to let you know, brand-wise, some of the best turbines that I've seen. By far, the best small turbine, and for a lot of you guys, it's going to be way too much, but it's in the category of small turbine, is the Exeris, Xzeres. Yeah, I know. XZE, Echo Romeo, Echo Zeres, Sierra. It's the Exeris 442. And it was originally rated at 10 kilowatt turbine. It's now rated at 12K because it's just that good. They haven't done anything to it, haven't changed anything to it. It's just such a good design that from jump, it puts out more power than it was ever designed to do. You can get a variety of different towers and tower heights with turbines. All turbines. You don't necessarily need one tower only works with one turbine. So you have what are called monopoles, which are steel poles that are self-supporting poles. You have what are called SSLs, self-supporting lattice towers, which are the ones that look kind of like cell phone towers, like a mini Eiffel Tower, where they're wider at the base and they become more narrow at the top. Then you have cable-stayed towers that are, they're the same width from the base all the way to the top, and then they have guy wires that come down at different intervals that keep the tower from falling over. I think monopoles are the best. They require the most foundation work, but they require the least upkeep after that. Once it's up, you're done. And then after that, SSLs, self-supporting lattice towers, are a little bit more work to assemble, less foundation work, but more steel work to put together. But once they're up, they're done. Cable-stayed towers, I'm not a huge fan of cable-stayed, but it's better than a sharp stick in the eye. So, and on your tower height, you want your turbine to sit at least 30 feet above the highest obstruction, tree, barn, house, plateau, peak of a ridge, whatever. The highest obstruction within 300 yards from the turbine, at least 30 feet above that. So if there's a 50-foot ridge 150 yards from your house, your turbine needs to be 80 feet in the air minimum. Okay? The higher you go into the air, the cooler the air temperature. So because the air is cooler, it has a higher density, which gives it a higher potential energy, right? Because the turbine is a function of two things, the wind speed and the density of that. So you have the wind itself, which is its speed and density, and then the surface area of the rotor blades on the turbine. So the higher you go in the air, the cooler the air, and the more wind that you get. So the higher the tower, generally speaking, the more power you're going to get on the same turbine. If you put the same type of turbine at 30 feet, 60 feet, and 90 feet, 3 different heights on a tower, the 90-foot tower is always going to make way more power than the 30-foot tower. So the higher you can get up in the air, the better. Okay, there's our little dissertation on that. The Exeris 442 is the bomb. It's an excellently built turbine, very reliable. It's not cheap. It is not cheap. But because it's not cheap, it does not fail. It has a very good warranty. The people that design it know what they're doing. I make zero money from Exeris. I mean, other than when I install their crap, it's not crap, it's good stuff. But other than when I install their product, and they're not paying me, the end user pays me to do that. I just like speccing Exeris equipment because it's very good. Now, Exeris bought SkyStream. A SkyStream used to be Chinese-produced junk, and it was not good. Not good at all. You were lucky if you could get a year out of one of them. And you've probably seen these things. They're smaller turbines. They're on 30 to 45 foot tall little monopole towers. They look like little metal telephone poles with a football on top of them. And that football has a little set of blades, rotor blades. It's 5 foot in diameter. And the blades are curved. They're not straight blades. You've probably seen these. In fact, Home Depot for a while was carrying, I don't believe they carried the turbines, but they certainly had pamphlets in the electrical aisles. If you wanted wind turbines, you could pull out one of these pamphlets and fill out the information, send it in, and somebody from SkyStream would contact you. But they were junk. They did not last. They did not make a lot of power, and they were not installed by, it was Joe's Plumbing and Septic that's installing your wind turbine. Now, Joe is a great guy, but he doesn't know anything about wind turbines. So the efficacy of those systems was lacking. Well, Exeris bought SkyStream, completely redesigned the SkyStream line, and they come in at an even lower price point for what is now excellent quality on the SkyStream line. So if the 442 is too much for you, you should look at the SkyStream that Exeris now owns and manufactures. I would not buy a used SkyStream, and I would not buy one from somebody's existing inventory. I would get one straight from Exeris because the old ones suck. So those are your smaller wind options. Now, you get into, if you need something bigger, like a 50K. Now, 50K distributed will run 5 good-size homes, modern homes, central heat and air, freezers and fridges and, electric stoves, 5 good-size homes, and, barns, outbuildings, the whole 9. So you want to think about 10K kW kilowatt per home. We're not going to get into the conversion between a 10 kilowatt turbine and the number of kilowatt hours and all of that. We can talk about that later. We don't have the time right now. But I'm trying to get some informational density here. About 10K per home. Now, if you live lightly, if you don't use a lot of electricity, sorry, somebody on my tail. I don't like them there. If you use a lot of electricity, or you don't use a lot of electricity, I apologize, 5K will work for you. If you're extremely conscientious about how you use electricity, 1K will work for you. And a kilowatt is just 1,000 watts. So, 1,000 watt turbine is a 1K turbine. Okay? So, a 50K turbine will do 5 homes. It'll do 10 homes that know what they're doing, right? You're watching what you're doing. It will do a large barn. It will do a light industrial applications, right? I could run my wood shop on a 50K turbine, and I have 3 CNCs, 2 table saws, 5 dust collectors, band saws. We have 1 compressor hooked up, but there's 5 compressors in the shop. You see what I mean? There's a lot of equipment there. There's 50 277 volt halogen lights overhead. So anyway, but for the 50K turbine, about the best I've seen is a company called Endurance. Now listen, they're from Canada, and because they're from Canada, sometimes it's a little hard to understand what they're trying to say because they're from Canada, but they're good people. Endurance Wind, their 50K turbine on a 140-foot monopole is freaking awesome. It's a great product, and it makes power. It's just very well built. It's not cheap. None of these are cheap, but it's very well built. If you need a 100K turbine, 100K turbine will run your compound for you and your tribe and everything else you want to do, okay? I'm talking comes out 480 volts, 3-phase. I forget the amperage, 600 amps. 600 amps, 480 volt, 3-phase electrical. And you can change the windings on a lot of these. So if you need 240 single phase, okay, they can do that. But without getting into all of that, a lot of that depends on what you can interconnect into your grid. And just so you know, a lot of utilities have a max interconnect of 40K. So they won't let you interconnect to their grid anything more than 40K. So, at least not without jumping through some hoops. And maybe we can do another video on that another time. But, and that has to do with backfeeding the grid. And there's a lot of safety protocol in there that if part of the grid goes down, and there's guys out there working on a down power line, that you're not backfeeding that line that's supposed to be dead with your generation, your turbine, and some guy goes and grabs the line, and boom, he gets his left hand blown off. Yeah, bad things, right? But 100K turbine, the best small wind turbine I've ever worked on, ever. Northern Power Systems NPS 100. Okay? November Papa Sierra 100. It is literally a utility grade wind turbine that they shrunk down. It's on a 120 foot monopole. Now you can get different size towers for it in the whole nine. It is extraordinarily well built and well designed. I have worked with the people from Northern for different iterations of what they have produced with the NPS 100 to make improvements and changes and make it even better. They're very smart people. They're very good at what they do, and their equipment is top notch. And it's just, I've installed these things at vocational schools for schools that are developing wind power protocols and programs to train people how to work on turbines, and it is a perfect facsimile for utility scale wind turbine. So unequivocally, I will always recommend the Northern Power Systems NPS 100 until they mess it up, which thus far I've seen no indication that they ever will. But it's a 100K turbine. Done properly, I could supply a small neighborhood, 20 houses with that turbine. That one. It's gonna cost you money, but it's something to think about. So there are lots of other smaller turbines that you can buy. Harbor Freight sells them and this and that. And what if can I build my own? You can do all of that. Berge makes turbines. The Berges are okay, but it's 35-year-old technology, and they haven't done much upgrading at all to the Berge, and they're expensive for what you get. I'm less than impressed. In fact, in McKinney, Texas, there's a Walmart that has a 50K Berge wind turbine in its parking lot that they use to generate the lights, the power for the lights in the parking lot, which is cool, except Berge doesn't make a 50K. They have a 20K Berge, and they know so little about what they're buying that some idiot or some nefarious, evildoer said, I'll sell you a 50K turbine, and they installed a 20K because Berge doesn't make a 50K. So make sure you know what you're buying. And if you don't, drop me an email, but don't spam my inbox, okay? I don't want 400 emails about, click this link and let me know what you think about. I work at least 70 hours a week, and I'm only here 4 days. Do the math. Actually, 70 hours a week is not lately. It's not been that way. It's been more like 40 hours a week lately, but there are times it's 70, 80 hours a week, and I'm going into another one of those periods now. We have 3 jobs that are all breaking at the same time, which, thank you, God, that's awesome. So, Point being, I don't have the bandwidth to read 400 emails about should I buy this turbine or not. If you're serious and you need some serious input, let me know. Now, so that's wind turbines, something you should think about. We'll probably do a separate video on solar. I have solar experience, not nearly as much as I do wind, but I bet it's more than you. And I don't mean that as a poking your ribs. I've just done a lot of stuff with electricity and renewables. So that's wind power. If you're building your systems out to where they are electron dependent, you gotta have magical pixies dancing through the wires to make your system work. After the balloon goes up, should you have a gas generator? Yeah. Propane generator? Yeah. Propane stove? Yeah. All that stuff? Yes. But then what? Okay. We talk about this quite a bit here. Wargaming. What's the next right thing? That stuff goes away. Okay, what's the next right thing? Wind turbine, right? Or something to that effect. A way to charge batteries, run those batteries through an inverter to go from 12 volts DC to 120/240 volts AC. Whole nother conversation for another time, right? Run it through an inverter so that you're getting alternating current that you can use to power your stuff if you need that stuff. And if you have that, then you're not burning your fossil fuels. So that's something else to consider. Although propane will keep for a long while, gasoline won't. Yeah, you can add additives and all of that. So wind turbines, wind power is something to think about. And I'm sure a lot of you already have thought about that. But my job is not to, as I understand it, as I see it, is to get y'all thinking and point you in the right direction on things, not to answer every little question and solve all of your life problems for you. So, although I'm happy to help with that too. So that's the wind turbine part of it. Just kind of had that on my brain this morning. Is excellent option if you have the cheddar, if you can buy it. Also, look, fiat currency. Your dollar's going to be worth less tomorrow than it is today, which is funny because it ain't worth anything today anyway. That's a whole nother rant. But if you got the bandwidth, and I'm not saying cash in your 401k, but if you got a little money in your pocket, buy a turbine, buy some solar panels, buy a battery backup, get that handled. Check that one off the list, then learn how to play with it. Become the de facto expert in your community on how this stuff works, because somebody's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, Bob, I don't know anything about anything with this stuff. I know you do. I need help. And if your answer is, well, I had Joe install it. Well, who's Joe? I don't know. Some guy I found on the internet. Oh, well, we don't have the internet anymore, so now what? Okay? So become the de facto expert on that. Second thing, I know we're 24 minutes into this video. Second thing that's on my mind this morning. Again, podcast, y'all. Podcast. Second thing is, how's your truck set up? Have you checked your trauma kit? Do you have spare fuel with you? You got a jack and a tire iron and a good spare tire? How's your tire tread? You checked all your fluids lately? You got a flashlight with batteries that work in it? Is your bug out kit in your truck? Mine is. Mine's right back there. See that? See that brown thing? That's my Condor 72-hour ultra tactical bag. It's my rucksack. Okay? It's right back there. Chest rig's back there. Rifle's back there in a case, transported legally. EDC's on my belt. There's my bug out system, right? It's right there. Is all your stuff in your truck squared away? You got water with you? You got a blankie? This time of year, you probably don't need a blankie, but you never know. It's snowing in Massachusetts, so you might still need a blankie. Here in Texas, it'll be 80-something degrees today and pouring rain, which will be that's a delicious environment to operate in. Anyway, how's your truck set up? How's your truck gear? your car gear, whatever, right? Your mobile operations center. I have a little Ford Ranger that I bought years ago from a buddy of mine. His name is Noah, and his dad, Randall Rotman, the Reverend Randall Rotman. And he called me up on Christmas Eve. Noah did. And he said, hey, you want to buy a truck? At the time, I had multiple trucks. I was cutting trees. I said, well, yeah, probably. And what truck? He said, it's my dad's truck. I said, heck yeah, I'll buy your dad's truck. The thing is spotless. How much does he want for it? And he says, just bring him $1. Okay. This little truck had 80,000 miles on it. Spotless. I mean, 2.3 liter 4-cylinder, clean truck. Very clean truck. Well, that was a gray hair we just pulled out of the beard. That's cool. Very clean little truck. Handed him $1. Actually, all I had, I know, I was making a lot of money then. All I had were hundreds. So I handed him a $100 bill, and he goes, he handed it back to me. He goes, we'll just pretend you handed me $1. Handed me a title and bill of sale, the whole nine. Well, that truck became the 7R MC Squared, the Rowdy Reverend Randall Rotman's Resurrected Ranger Mobile Command Center. Just because acronyms are funny. The Rowdy Reverend Randall Rotman's Resurrected Ranger Mobile Command Center. Yeah, how's that for an acronym? 7RMC Squared. That truck, I beat the piss out of that truck. That truck had more miles on it in the woods than it did out of the woods at that point. I got it stuck in between two trees. We got the fender wells. I thought the trees were far enough apart that I could drive through, and punk, stuck. Had a guy sitting in the passenger seat. He looks at me and goes, well, what do we do now? So we open up the doors, grabbed a chainsaw out of the back, fell one tree whoosh, this way and the other one whoosh, that way. Hop back in, threw the chainsaw in the back of the truck, put it in first gear, let the clutch out, and whoom, took off again. I got to the point where I had to be careful. I didn't want to be driving that truck around where the Reverend would see it, because I knew he would not approve. But anyway, how's your truck kit? You got a chainsaw? I do. Force of habit. Probably don't need one, but I got one. Squid's here. Say hi, Squid. Hey. All right, we got to go to work. We're going to do anything today? I don't know either.
But I almost kicked the shit out of somebody last night.
Nice. Yeah. We should have a session later.
Maybe.
We'll talk about it.
All right.
There'll be feelings. Bye.